So here's why I love gimbals. So if we turn the clock back to about a year ago, I was in a similar sort of situation with I want to achieve smooth footage, but I don't want to get a gimbal because of the price and it seems like a faff. I was asking friends about who I knew had gimbals, and I was asking them, how do you get such smooth footage? Is it like the handles that you put on it so it makes it heavier, so it's a bit more stable, adding grips on the side, all that sort of stuff? And they just said, no, just get a gimbal. Now, that is a lot easier said than done. Like, they are an investment, they can be expensive, but there are a lot of choices out there and you just need to find the one to fit your needs. And ever since owning a gimbal, there are things that I have learnt that might help you when deciding what sort of gimbal that you want to choose. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the top 4 things that I've learnt since owning a gimbal that I think will come in really handy for any of you out there who are in the market to buy one. Let's get into today's video. So before we get into anything, the example that I'm going to be using in today's video is my DJI RS2. I've owned this gimbal for over a year now, and it has been fantastic for my career, but all the examples that I'm going to be talking about today will apply to this gimbal and the more newer DJI range. I'm sure the examples that I'm going to be talking about will apply to other gimbals, but you might have to find different alternatives. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the first thing to know if you're in the market for owning a gimbal. So this first thing actually took me a while to understand, but once I got into it and learned it a bit more and practiced it, it was such a huge help. And what you have to understand about a gimbal is that it's not just going to make your footage smooth straight out the box. It's going to do a heck of a lot more than if you're just having a handheld rig and just trying to be smooth. But you actually have to take into account that you yourself have to make the footage as smooth as possible. And a lot of that comes from the way that you walk. Now, you might have heard terms thrown out there like the ninja walk, and the reasons why it's talked about so much is because it's true. You really have to find a really low center of gravity and really act like a gimbal yourself. So the more nimble that you are and the more kind of tight and more stable of walking will make the footage even more smoother. So when I first bought my gimbal, I thought, that's it. It's all good. Everything that I've got in the box, that is all that I will ever need. And I quickly learned that that is not the case at all. So if we talk about a scenario where you have it straight out the box and you've got the briefcase handle on the gimbal and you want to take the tripod off of the bottom of the gimbal and put it onto the briefcase handle, doing that motion is very tricky, and it can get a little bit sketchy considering you're holding a lot of expensive equipment and you don't really want to drop your camera, your lens and the gimbal. And so you learn pretty quickly that you just want to keep the tripod on the bottom of the gimbal and you want to get an external grip. And so you order that and you have that and you put it on there. And then after that, you figure out that just having the small screen on the camera isn't really enough, because as soon as you start to do all the movements, the screen gets blocked. So you want to invest in an external monitor. And so you get a monitor mount to go on the grip, and then you can attach the external monitor on top of the briefcase handle. But then you learn that you kind of want the screen a bit closer and you don't really like having it on top of the briefcase handle. So then you buy some arms to go on the side of the gimbal and 2 handles so that you can put the monitor on there. And that process just keeps going and going and going. After a year, I'm still doing that today because I'm finding new configurations that help when it comes to filming stuff for my job. Now, this is just my experience. It might not apply to everyone, but all my friends, everyone that I've met that owns a gimbal always has these extra accessories that didn't come in the original box. So all I would say is embrace that if you're in the market for a gimbal. It will just keep growing. In the same situation that you get a camera and then you want a new lens and then you want better quality audio and then you want a new camera and a new lens and new just keeps growing and growing. It's exactly the same for a gimbal. Now, the gimbal that you're looking at right there is, as I said, the RS2, but I bought the Pro kit. So that came with the gimbal, but it also came with the DJI Raven Eye, which is a image transmitter. It came with a focus motor, came with all the cables, came with just all these little extra accessories. And the reason why I'm talking about this is that understand exactly what you want from a gimbal, because it might actually save you a lot of money. Because through my experiences, I haven't really needed the image transmitter as much as I thought that I would. I was actually using it previously as an external monitor on my phone. Like, this was the screen that I had on top of the camera so that I could check everything. I could check the focus peaking, check the false color, add on some LUTs. But then I learned that it's a phone. I need this phone. I need it to text people, to call people, to do stuff, to run my business. So I just got an external monitor, which I'm shooting on right now. And apart from Active Track, which can be handy, I don't use it. I used Active Track for the first time in about a year. So turns out I didn't really need it and I could have saved myself a few £100. And then the focus motor is really handy, but the only situation that I use it for is when the autofocus on my camera isn't quite doing its job. And so I quickly switch it to manual, and then I can use the focus ring to get my focus and get the shot. Could I easily just change that on the front of the lens? Yes, I could. And again, could have saved myself an extra £100. So could I have got by with something like the SC2? Absolutely. Have I future-proofed myself in terms of my career with something just like the RS2? Yes, and that's why I'm extremely happy to have that. But really do your research if you're going to get a gimbal, because you could save yourself a few £100. And finally, thing 4. Does everyone need something like the RS2? No, absolutely not. Is it overkill for a lot of people? Absolutely. The reason why I got it is because I knew that my career path was going to go into film. And so I wanted at the time the best of the best, and the RS2 is that. I love what this has done for me, but it isn't for everyone. Like, there are lots of people that I know that own the SC2 and they get by absolutely fine. I know people who still have the predecessor to this, which is the Ronin S, and do a fantastic job of it. And I know people who don't even own DJI products. They own something from Zhiyun, that brand, which does a fantastic job and is even cheaper. And there's even the one that they sell which is so pocketable and it can still hold a really good setup. So for thing 4, just get the gimbal that's right for you, because you don't have to get something just like this and spend almost £1,000 on it, because I feel that's what's holding a lot of people back. They see this and think this is the only option. It's not. There's so many options out there at so many different price points. It just depends on who you are and the sort of work that you're doing at the moment. So that's it for my top 4 things to know before buying a gimbal if you're in the market for one. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you like these sorts of videos and you want to see more, then I suggest that you 1, like, 2, comment, and 3, subscribe. As always, make sure to ring that bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new YouTube video, and I will see you all in the next video. Cheers, guys.